Watch your fingers find the wound again. Even when it's almost healed, there's something almost automatic about it, isn't there? The way your nail finds the edge. The small satisfaction of feeling it lift. The instant regret that follows. But your fingers return anyway, drawn by some invisible thread to the place that hurts. You know you're making it worse. You know it will take longer to heal now. If that feeling just moved through you, ... If you know exactly what I'm talking about, stay with me for the next few minutes, where the heart speaks a language the mind refuses to learn. Because we're going somewhere you might recognize, somewhere that exists in the space between what we want and what we choose, between who we think we are and what we find ourselves doing again and again. It's a place where logic fails and the body remembers. And maybe, if we're quiet enough, we can hear what it's been trying to tell us all along. There's a particular weight to Sunday evenings. Not the dread of Monday. That's too obvious. Something deeper. Something that settles in your chest like sediment, heavy and familiar. It's the way your thumb scrolls past the same faces, seeking the same small cuts. Looking for proof of what you already know, that you somehow outside the warmth you see others sharing. That the life you're living is adjacent to the life you want, close enough to touch, but never quite yours. You reach for your phone to text the person who never quite texts back the way you need them to. The smell of something burning that never quite becomes a fire. Your fingers hover over the keyboard, typing and deleting the same 3 sentences, trying to find the exact combination of words that will unlock something you can't quite name. Casual but not desperate. Interested but not needy. Human but not too human. You know this hallway. You've walked it 1,000 times. The floorboard that creaks under your left foot. The way the light flickers just before the corner. But approachable, confident but not arrogant. Worthy but not demanding. You can navigate it blindfolded, and maybe you are. The job that asks for just a little more each week until a little more becomes everything. The friend who calls only when they need something, leaving you feeling like a gas station for emotional emergencies. The pattern of saying yes when you mean no, then resenting the choice you made, but somehow couldn't stop yourself from making. You promised yourself, swore to yourself, you wouldn't call. You even deleted their number, but your fingers remember the sequence like a prayer you can't stop reciting. The theater of almost, they'll answer because they're kind. And you'll hear the cost of that kindness in every syllable. You hover over the send button, the boundary you almost set with your mother, the words formed and ready, but somehow when you open your mouth, different words come out. The dream you keep in the someday folder, safely distant from the possibility of failure. The email sits there. 3 paragraphs you rewrote 17 times. Each version trying to capture the exact temperature of professional. How you'll finally tell them how their silence feels. Like the last few seconds before turbulence hits, when the airplane holds its breath and you grip the armrest, knowing and not knowing what's coming. The way you'll disappoint yourself again, in exactly the same way. How you'll explain what you need without sounding like you need too much. But when the moment comes, your tongue feels thick and foreign, and you hear yourself saying fine when you mean anything, but you know what the reply won't say. The careful distance it will maintain. The polite deflection wrapped in corporate kindness. And again, it leaves you feeling like too much. The devil you can name, the ghost you've learned to live with, who knows exactly how you take your coffee and never asks too many questions. Your finger trembles over the mouse. This moment stretches like taffy, sweet and sticky and somehow endless. You can feel your heartbeat in your throat, your breath shallow and careful, as if moving too quickly might shatter something fragile. Every time you return to the same patterns, you're wearing a groove in the space-time of your nervous system, creating pathways that become highways that become the only roads you know how to drive. This is the ache that has carved out a space inside. You so perfectly fitted that any other feeling would be strange and uncomfortable. It doesn't care if the pattern serves you or destroys you. It only knows established and uncharted, familiar and foreign, the devil you know and the angels you don't. It knows the exact gravitational pull, the precise velocity needed to neither crash into the sun nor drift into the cold emptiness of space. It has learned to breathe in this thin atmosphere, to find nutrients in this particular soil. Survival is its only job, its sacred mission, the thing it will sacrifice everything else to achieve. Like wearing someone else's shoes, and still, your finger weights reminds you of last time and the time before that, and all the times you stood in this exact place, promising yourself it would be different. Not because they bring joy or satisfaction or any of the things we think we're seeking. Or it's 2 a.m. and their name glows on your phone. Every time the pattern completes itself exactly as expected. Every time you disappoint yourself in the precisely anticipated way. You know how their voice will sound, polite, tired, the exact shape of their patience wearing thin. One pattern that will never surprise you, never abandon you, never ask you to be more than you've proven you can be. It demands new physics, new ways of moving through space that your system hasn't tested for survival, but your thumb is already moving toward the light. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do, what millions of years of evolution have trained it to do, completing the rotation it already knows how to make. The promotion you do and apply for because you can already hear the reasons you won't get it. Or the conversation you rehearse in the shower, the perfect words flowing like water over your skin. The weight of what's coming. There's a moment, always a moment, where you can feel it approaching. Like storm clouds gathering at the edge of your vision. The conversation you'll have, the choice you'll make. Your rational mind catalogs every reason to turn away. Lists the evidence like a prosecutor building a case. It speaks in logic, charts and graphs and reasonable conclusions. But your body speaks in memory, and memory says, this is how we survive. This is the devil we know. Your body is already leaning in, already anticipating the familiar weight of regret, the comfortable devastation of another almost. Because there's something almost comfortable about the ache, you know? The pain that fits the exact shape of the space inside your chest. Here's what your brain doesn't tell you. What it whispers only in the dark spaces between thoughts. Predictability isn't about pleasure, it's about survival. Every choice you make carves an orbit. Every emotion you feel deepens the gravitational pull. And your nervous system, it doesn't distinguish between good orbits and bad orbits. The comfort of catastrophe. The chaos you choose is the orbit you've learned to navigate. Your body has mapped every rotation of this particular suffering. The unknown, even if it's better, even if it promises warmth and oxygen and all the things you think you want, requires breaking free of gravity itself. And survival, not happiness, is what your nervous system cares about. What we call self-sabotage, neuroscience calls orbital maintenance. Your brain is not broken. It's not cruel or stupid or weak. The addiction to prediction. The nervous system would rather maintain its familiar orbit than risk the void between stars. Because even painful orbits, when they're predictable, trigger a micro-release of dopamine. Not because they feel good, because they feel known. Your brain gets a small chemical reward every time it successfully predicts what comes next. It's the dopamine of being right, even when being right feels like dying. Because in a universe of infinite space, of endless variables and unknowable outcomes, you have found one gravitational pull you can count on. It's the deepest kind of loyalty, loyalty to your own limitations, faithfulness to your own fears. And it feels like love, even when it looks like self-destruction. So what is it you're orbiting? Is it the weight of being too much? The safety of being not enough? The familiar ache of almost? Maybe it doesn't matter what we call it. Maybe what matters is the recognition, the quiet understanding that you are not broken for returning. You are not weak for knowing the way back to pain. You are a planet in orbit around something that feels like home, even when home is a dying star. And if one day the pole went quiet, if the gravity that has held you suddenly released its grip, would you know how to move through open space? Would you know who was left floating? These aren't questions that demand answers. They're invitations to sit with what is, to feel the weight of your own patterns without trying to lift them, to recognize the orbit without immediately planning your escape, simply bearing witness to the beautiful, terrible loyalty of a nervous system that chooses the familiar over the unknown again and again. Because maybe the first step isn't breaking free, maybe it's simply seeing, simply knowing, the same distance from the same center, always.